And so we were still pretty young. And I remember Reed and I kind of looking at each other and going, that's not a bad return for 12 to 18 months work. But at the same time, we felt we had already solved the big problems. We had built a functioning e-commerce website. We had managed to source every single DVD that was available. We had figured out how to make movies go out to customers and bring them back. And we weren't quite ready to let Jeff Bezos take over. And so in some ways, it was less about us going up and deciding whether to sell or not. It really ended up being kind of like a commitment ceremony where Reed and I looked at each other in the eyes and said, we can get out if we want. And I think both of us decided, no, let's go for this.
Would that money have changed your life at that point? 1999 getting, $49 million.
That's hard to say. This is not like I was, living in a trailer and deeply in debt. And, I'd been working, I was in my late 30s. Mm-hmm. I'd been working in Silicon Valley for a while, and I'd had a number of startups, I'd gone through IPOs before. So I was comfortable. Don't get me wrong, this would have been nice, but I'm not sure this would have dramatically changed my life in some profound way. I thought it was much more interesting to take the shot and see what Netflix could become than to walk away.
What was Jeff like? What do you remember in 1999?
Extremely unpolished.
Really?
If you see him now, I mean, he's really buff and he's really thoughtful, and someone has definitely worked on his laugh. It's now very controlled. Back then, it was this almost hysterical hyena-like bark, and you could hear it from all over the building. I'm not going to try and imitate it. But he was tremendously enthusiastic, like this bundle of energy. And I remember that the two of us were just going back and forth on all this early startup stuff. And one thing I remember we had in common is that at our launch, we had rigged up a bell to ring every time an order came in. And I was telling him that, and he was going, we too, we had a bell that was ringing. And we shared those things. And then we were also talking about names. And Netflix had started out with a strange name, which was Kibble.